SunCoast Blood Bank is a local nonprofit working in the community to save lives each and every day. SunCoast Blood Bank provides blood products to 12 hospitals as well as Bay Flight 2 emergency helicopter transport in Manatee, Sarasota, Charlotte, and DeSoto counties. SunCoast is one of the first blood banks in the country and the first in the state to acquire an innovative technology that is poised to keep the blood supply safer than ever by significantly reducing the risk of transfusion transmitted infections. The SunCoast Blood Bank, they're ahead on Bayside. Good morning and welcome to Bayside. I am your host, Shelly Sanders. We are talking all about the SunCoast Blood Bank and their presence in the Bay Area. Welcome to the show, Jane Giroux and Jason Carney. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Lots of exciting, innovative things going on with the blood bank. You know, I don't know that there's too many people that have been here for very long that haven't at least heard of the SunCoast Blood Bank, and hopefully only heard of it and not necessarily needed it. But that's where we are. And thank God you're here, really and truly. So talk to me about how long it's been around and about your presence and role that you play here in the community.
Well, SunCoast has been in the community since 1949. It was founded as part of what is now Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System, and it was founded by a physician and a local philanthropist who, as part of the Greatest Generation, wanted to serve their community. Blood banking was born as part of the Greatest Generation in World War II, and we've been around, as I said, for 66 years. Our name has changed and evolved a few times, but we have stayed a community-based, locally managed, local board, functioning blood bank within the community. We're one of the smaller blood banks in the Bay Area, but because we are smaller, we can and do participate in some cutting-edge technologies and services, such as what we're going to discuss here today, as well as we participate in a cancer treatment program for late-stage prostate cancer patients. So in addition to the traditional role that we play collecting and distributing blood and providing transfusion services, we're much more than that to our community.
Sure. So the fact that it is a community-based and it is, we have, or you have stayed small, yes, that actually works in, well, really the community's favor, because you're able to be more, it's almost like a more heavily concentrated focus,
exactly,
instead of getting too diluted.
Exactly. Yes, and we can move quickly, which is why some of the technology companies do come to us, is because we can make our decisions quickly because of our local presence and our strong ties to our hospital partners.
Sure. Well, without further ado, we've already talked about some of this technology, and I know that right out of the gate, just speaking from a personal standpoint, the word technology and blood bank don't necessarily go hand in hand. It isn't something that that's not the first word that I would use. That said, it's very intriguing. So tell me about it, and what technology are we referring to?
The new technology that SunCoast is working with, Cirrus Corporation, is a company that has created a technology for pathogen reduction. Now, pathogen reduction means that we look at bacteria, viruses, and parasites, and we try to find a way to stop them from replicating, which is how the viruses spread. And so Cirrus has come up with a proprietary molecule called amotocillin, and what it is it's put inside of the platelet product itself, and then it's under UV light, it's illuminated, and what it does is it stops them from replicating. It even stops some of the white cells and T cells from forming as well, so it reduces the number. Mm-hmm. And so it's packaged, it's put under an illuminator, so if you can imagine in this machine there are tubes, fluorescent lights, just like you would see.
Which is what we're watching right now, is the whole process of everything that you're describing, right, Jason?
Yes. And so what they're doing right now is they've illuminated the product after they've added the amotosalen, and now they'll filter out that molecule itself. And so they'll release the platelets back into what you would normally see platelets stored in. It's a normal storage container, and then it will be labeled for transfusion after this process is over and they've removed all the excess amotosalen. So basically what you've received is now a bacteria-free, virus-free, and pathogen-reduced, maybe not eliminated every envelope virus, but most here through that process. So it's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. So it's the purest form of platelets that you're going to receive then.
So the U.S. blood supply has never been safer. And so we first have to start by making that comment, number one. Number two is that, you know, the need for blood is constant, so we always have to change technologies and look to find a way to make it safer. This is the safest form of platelet product that you will receive, and it's important for the patients that we serve because most patients that receive platelet products are already immunocompromised. So they rely on the highest quality and the highest potency product that's on the market.
Wow. Well, doesn't that make you feel proud, all of you out there watching and hearing today, that it's never been safer? Now, right here, some of the images that we're seeing. Now,
sure.
This is
Like,
animation.
it looks like bacteria, and so what you would see is the bacteria would have to bind, it's a pathogen, so it would have to bind itself to DNA and RNA to replicate. And so the process where it actually closes that off right now is what you're seeing is the envelope virus is closed, and it blocks, the UV light would block that from replicating and attaching itself to the DNA itself, and therefore it would leave it unable to spread the virus. So you'd see that's it would be a dead parasite.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So basically then what that's doing is going in and cleaning, to put it in the most basic form, it's cleaning it out and not allowing it. And then when you go back through the reverse of that process, it strains all of that out and puts it in a storage.
That's exactly the process. So it looks, that amotosalen goes out and looks for and binds to all those parasites.
Ready for a job there, Jason?
That's it.
Okay, well in its basic sense, it's easy enough to grasp. And therefore, this is something that SunCoast Blood Bank can brag about, the fact that this, now is this the INTERCEPT technology that you're referring to?
It is, correct. They were first to market in the United States. It's been used in clinical trials. It's used in Europe, has been used in Europe and licensed in Europe for a long time. We help support some clinical trials that were going on through Blood Centers of America, and so now it's to market here, and we wanted to make sure we were one of the first blood banks to offer this product. And our size, again, speaking to what Jane said, we're nimble enough at our size to react to patient needs, and so we think that's a great benefit.
And platelets are in very high demand, especially for cancer patients, and they can only be stored for, is it 2 weeks, Jason?
5 days.
5 days,
Oh,
5
wow.
days. So, and by the time it's out of testing, that shelf life is 3.5 days. So keeping it in its purest form is vitally important, not only for the supply, but for the patient.
Wow. So then the INTERCEPT technology process itself takes about 3 days?
No, it's a very short process.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's
Okay.
a very short process that actually allows us to release the platelets earlier, and instead of 3.5 days, we'd have 4 days of shelf life
wow.
on those platelets.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, gosh, we have so much more to talk about, and I'm sure you have questions. You can always log on to their website, scbb.org. You're looking at that website right now. It gives you all the information, including information on how you can take part in their upcoming fundraiser. What a fun time. Red hot event coming up. And of course, we will always put this link on our website at cw44.com. We've got so much to tell you about. We need a whole hour long show here. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back after these messages to tell you about it. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders. We are talking blood this week on Bayside. You heard me right, in case you're just tuning in. We're talking all about the SunCoast Blood Bank. And you know what? It's really, really fascinating when you get down to it. And some of the things that, if you haven't needed the blood bank, it's congratulations, good for you, and that's a wonderful thing. But the fact that you guys are doing so much behind the scenes for that moment that should you ever need to utilize the services of the SunCoast Blood Bank, my goodness, you guys are on top of it. Jason, you were just sharing with me during the break, the INTERCEPT technology that we discussed in the earlier segment. It's fascinating, really, how it's just cleaning up the platelets ready for someone to receive them. Now, that's heavy technology, and we've come a long way to be able to do that. And I didn't realize at the time just how heavy. Please share with our viewers exactly who has this technology in the United States.
Well, there will only be 2 blood centers right now in the market with this technology. We are going to be first to market, which we're very proud of, and Delmarva, Blood Bank of Delmarva, is the second, and they're up in the Northeast.
Okay, so that should make you really feel safe and secure here should you ever find yourself in need of platelet donation, for sure, which is why it's so important too. If you're looking for something to do, get out and donate some blood. It's always, always, always a need. Plus, too, the shelf life of platelets, like we discussed earlier, is not very long. Platelets in plasma, correct?
It's 5 days. 5 days for platelets.
And you can donate platelets every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
As often as every 2 weeks. And we have loyal donors who come in every 2 weeks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Now, we kind of breezed over it. Who are the people that are in need of platelets and plasma?
Primarily cancer patients, and especially in our population, in our little part of the world, as much as 50% of the blood and platelets that we collect are used for the treatment of cancer patients.
Oh, wow.
So along with the bad cells that chemotherapy destroys, it also destroys the healthy cells. And platelets aid the clotting factor. And the side effects of chemotherapy can sometimes cause bleeding, and patients will need platelets to help get them through their therapies.
So there's reason enough for you right there, because at 50% needing it, that just tells you that more than likely there's no one out there that isn't affected in some way, shape, or form by cancer. Goodness. All right, so that said, the Gates Foundation played a pretty significant role in getting this technology to SunCoast Blood Bank, correct?
Well, what the Gates Foundation did is they helped fund through an organization called Clinical RM, and they did a U.S. trial over in Monrovia with the Blood Centers of America, which we are a member of. So they provided the funding to buy this product to bring over there, and it was to collect plasma from patients who had survived Ebola to create what they call convalescent plasma. And what that really is they use that plasma then, and then they use the INTERCEPT product to block the replication, and they treat patients with the antibodies that came up from the Ebola virus to help cure them basically of Ebola. So it was used in clinical trials over there, about 70 cases, and Kathleen Rowe, who's a good friend of SunCoast Blood Bank, was one of the folks out there actually on the ground doing the work. Wow. And came back and shared with us. So it was one of the things that really solidified our commitment to Cirrus and the INTERCEPT technology. So that was part of it.
And you heard about this treatment from the Ebola patients that were brought to this country,
Sure.
Received this treatment in this country.
Okay, so this is the technology.
Yes.
So for those of you at home, when you heard this technology or when you heard these words being talked about, this is what they were referring to for those Ebola patients that were coming into the country. That said, Ebola, you have now, especially with someone as hot topic as Lindsay Lohan having other
chikungunya,
unheard of chikungunya, and then you've also got, what's the other one, the dengue, that is things that if you've ever heard of it, it's always been somewhere else and not necessarily here. Is INTERCEPT part of the technology that's going to help out with
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest fears are all these emerging bugs or pathogens that are coming out, and chikungunya, dengue, those are becoming more prevalent now. Dengue, the cases that have been confirmed, laboratory confirmed, have been in Florida and Texas. And out of the 3,900 cases that were confirmed in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, 11 of the cases in the U.S. were all here in Florida.
Wow.
So our obligation is to make sure that we can stop the replication of that before it gets to our patients.